comment. This public comments normally for items that are going to appear on our closed session, but is there anybody who would like to go? Okay. Then with that, then we'll have the announcement of items to be discussed in closed session.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the board will convene in closed session for a conference with legal counsel regarding significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.91 case. The board will also convene for a conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 Mountain Meadows Conservancy, Sierra Club, and Sierra Watch versus County of Lassen and Lassen County Board of Supervisors, Lassen County Superior Court case number 45938, 3rd District Court of Appeals case number C067839. And the board will also convene to discuss conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to subdivision D2 of Government Code section 54956.91 case, and to receive a report on claims.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll go into closed session. Meeting back to order, and we will begin with the pledge. Supervisor Chapman, do the honors.
Yes, please join me in saluting the flag of our country. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time we do the prayer. We have one that we normally do each week. It took me a while to memorize it. Now I'm going to go mess things up a bit. I was going through my drawer here and I found quite a few beautiful prayers written by our poet Violet. So I have a few more board meetings left to chair, and I thought I'd use it as an opportunity to do a different one each week. They're all very beautiful, so please join me. God, everlasting, we pray, guide us this day that we serve obediently, our sworn oath to uphold and honor, the authority bestowed upon us, that we neither divert nor neglect our duties entrusted to us by the people. Amen. Okay, welcome. Sorry we ran a little bit late this morning with our closed session, so we'll go on to item D1, announcement of items discussed in the closed session.
Mr. Chairman, the board met in closed session for a conference with legal counsel regarding significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.91 case. There was no reportable action. The board also met in closed session for a conference with legal counsel for existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 Mountain Meadows Conservancy, Sierra Club, Sierra Watch versus County of Lassen and Lassen County Board of Supervisors, Lassen County Superior Court case number 45938, 3rd District Court of Appeals case number C067839. There was no reportable action. The board also met with conference with legal counsel regarding significant exposure to litigation pursuant to subdivision D2 of Government Code section 54956.91 case. There was no reportable action, and the board received a report on claims. There was no reportable action.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item D2, agenda approval, additions and/or deletions.
I was going to move approval, but yeah, I was going to say this morning I learned that we had one of our retired former employees from the assessor's office, Steve Anderson, passed away apparently unexpectedly yesterday. And I think we should adjourn with him. And I don't have the details of the information, but Ken Bunch does, because he mentioned it to me this morning when I saw him.
He was a chief appraiser for a number of years in the assessor's office.
Yeah, retired back sometime in the mid-90s, if I recall.
Yeah, in 2000.
Was it 2000?
8 or so years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Before we take action, is there any public comment on this item? Okay. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Alrighty, we'll move on to P3. This is a portion of our meeting which is public comment.
And second was,
And feel free to talk about or comment about anything you'd like. If you're here for a particular agenda item, we do have public comment again before each of the items. I have two speaker cards here. If you haven't filled one out and you'd like to make a comment, just raise your hand after we take up the two speaker cards. So first there's Bethany. Bethany Edholm. Hi.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and the board. I'm Bethany Edholm from Lassen County Public Health Department. And I'm just here today to give a quick update on Lassen County's preparedness efforts in response to the Ebola outbreak. Many of you may know that there is a current Ebola epidemic in localized African countries of Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia. In the United States, there have been 3 localized transmission cases. However, there are currently no cases or suspect cases in California. And it is unlikely that any cases will present in California or within Lassen County. However, it is important for us to be prepared at this time. So an update from Public Health is that we are actively staying up to date with information provided by the California Department of Public Health and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We are providing public information that can be accessed on our website. We have some frequently asked questions and fact sheets there, or anyone can call Lassen County Public Health for up-to-date and relevant information there. Additionally, we're providing information to healthcare facilities as it comes out from the State Department and the Center for Disease Control. We are providing resources to the hospital so that they are prepared in the event that a case or suspect case would present at the hospital, that they have all the resources and equipment and personal protective equipment that they would need to respond. And we have plans in place ourselves to respond immediately in the event that a suspect case would present in Lassen County. We will also be holding an informational briefing for first responders and representatives from the healthcare facilities later this week. We're just doing these efforts to ensure that our community is capable of responding successfully and mitigating if an Ebola case were to present in Lassen County. We also have some information for travelers. It's important that anyone planning to travel to West Africa contact the Public Health Department before departure and upon return to create a safe travel and return plan. And we've developed resources at the Public Health Department that we have to help travelers get all the information that they need and to be able to make that safe travel plan. Again, the risk is very low in the United States in Lassen County. Ebola patients only spread the disease when they have symptoms, and a person must have direct contact with the patient's bodily fluids to become infected. But it is important we're taking these preparedness steps so that we can be ahead of the game, again, in case a case or suspect case were to present. So again, our website, lassencountyhealth.org, has FAQs and information. We also have a Facebook presence where information can be obtained, and then we're happy to answer any questions or concerns just by contacting the Public Health Department. If I can take one more moment of your time, I'd just like to acknowledge some other diseases that are currently circulating within the United States, and that is the enterovirus, a respiratory illness, affects persons' lungs and breathing. This is a risk for children, especially children with asthma, and just information on this. Washing hands, hand hygiene, staying home when you're sick, covering coughs and sneezes is just important for us to remind Lassen County residents to do that. And then influenza, another respiratory illness that affects us seasonally every fall and winter. There has been one confirmed case in Lassen County, so it's circulating. And the best protection against this is to receive the flu vaccine, and again, hand hygiene, social distancing, staying home when you're sick. So any questions can be answered at the Public Health Department.
Thank you very much.
Bethany, you said you're providing resources to the hospital, so somebody comes up with an influenza such as we are faced with. What kind of resources are you providing?
For the public health department is providing all the information, the fact sheets from the CDC and the public health department, and then just the personal protective equipment that healthcare workers would need. We have a hospital preparedness grant, and through that grant, we're able to purchase and supply the equipment to the hospital and the healthcare facilities.
So the hospital right now is prepared to accept a case such as?
Yes.
Okay.
Supervisor Chang.
Yeah, given that, I know that, you know, the grant and what was probably acquired just yesterday, the CDC upgraded their recommendation to have protective gear that covers the entire body. Because apparently, and that was what led to the one nurse, I guess, being exposed, is that they had parts of the body that were exposed in terms of not having protective layers put in there. So the stuff you're providing to the local hospital through that grant, are they going to be that full protective standard, or is it going to be what the standard was up till yesterday?
Yes, the stuff that they have right now was the standard before yesterday. Those standards that have come out, we had most of it, but things that are additionally required, we'll be purchasing. We actually have a few purchase orders in at the moment, so we'll be receiving those as soon as shipments arrive. On our briefing later this week with the healthcare providers, we'll be sure to get them all that updated information from the CDC.
You know, this may sound like a silly question, but it was one that actually, my wife and I were watching the news last night, and they kept talking about these people who were being released or being go from quarantine after 21 days. What was the determination of the 21 days? How do they know it's 21 days?
So they've known for a long time researching Ebola, even before this outbreak, that the incubation period is 2 to 21 days for Ebola. And so any persons that need to be monitored, if there was any exposure possible, they were using the 21-day guideline. Symptoms generally present between 8 to 10 days.
I bet somebody knows.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Bethany is a very good person.
And Christy Myers.
And Christy Martin, of course. Can't forget the two.
We could get straight answers from our own health department. Don't try that from the White House.
Warning, the White House doesn't steal our too.
All righty, hand management.
Morning.
Hi.
I just wanted to bring a copy of the petition for the dialogue on the diamonds that's been circulating. I'm still getting more in, but I have a color copy. It's back and front, so there's 33 pages there, so 66 pages. And then one for, I guess I give it to you and you give it to one. Anyway, one for all of you. I just briefly wanted to express a couple things. The urgency that I tried to convey to the Forest Service last night. In the last 4.5 years, the number of acres in California that's burned equals what's burned in the last 7 decades. So it's, and that's why you have declared your state of fire emergency here. And you know why they do have those projects that they've started but they haven't implemented. And they indicated last night that they might be ramping them up a little bit. So I'm definitely need to follow up on that. And I also wanted to say how glad I was to see that you guys have implemented the coordination council. I feel like that's going to be a mechanism that the board and the county and all types of land use people, whether they're OHV or grazers or timber people, are able to have some sort of way to interact with the Forest Service. It was really clear last night when Mark Schaefer was there with Honey Lake Power talking about their needs for chips. And I just, seeing it in action, I just think it's something I'm glad you're supporting. And I feel like the opportunity that's there is a big one, and hopefully you guys are able to utilize that and implement. A couple things that my printer isn't doing very well, but I have a couple things that I wanted you to just see some of the things I gave them last night. You probably are aware of. I don't know if anybody in the county is going to the grant workshop in Reading on the 23rd for greenhouse gas reductions, I'll just have a couple of those, because I think there's something like $40 million that CAL FIRE has that are available, that there might be some way, if people are innovative, that you can have some sort of access to that. I also wanted to give a couple pages that I printed out from the Lassen County Fire Safe Council and their Lassen County Community Wildfire Protection Plan, their working group. March 31st, they voted, and they placed the Diamond Mountain Range as their highest priority for fuel treatments. So I feel like that is something that the Forest Service, I tried to make them aware of that last night too, that it's not just the dialogue on the diamonds, but that group as well is prioritizing that. And then there's a Farm Service Agency program, BCAP, where there's financial assistance, and I was talking to Debbie Michaels yesterday. There was over $1 million this year from before October, because there was a real short window this year that was put into our economy locally that helps with transportation and equipment for biomass. So that's really important for us to keep, fuel going out to highway power. So anyway, I just wanted to thank you guys for listening, and there was a big broad spectrum of people that have been signing the petition, and groups that I was able to speak to when I was actually invited to the SEIU, which is one of the unions out at High Desert. And so a number of people in our community are very concerned about the diamonds and want to see some fuel reduction efforts take place. So thank you, and I'm sure I'll return.
I just wanted to share, I had the opportunity Saturday evening, I was at the symphony concert, and the board supervisor was there, and had a chance, during the break, had a chance to have a conversation with him. And of course, I pressed the issue of the petition and making a priority of the diamonds. And I don't know if he was at the podium in the council meeting last night, but anyway, he did indicate to me, though, I think he's hearing the message. He obviously appreciates what the message is, but his concern, and he just wanted to basically be honest about it. I do like his style and his forthrightness. But given the massive fires we've had this past year, up there in Cat Creek Valley, the Eilers fire, the one that came over to Fishville and Little Valley in that area, that he indicated that a lot of their resources are going to be targeted, or by necessity targeted, to deal with the reforesting, rehabilitation of those fire areas. And so every dollar they have to spend in something like that is just one less dollar they have available to target, in terms of load reductions and so forth in other areas. But I indicated to him that, well, it's kind of sad that that's indeed what our policies are, that we only put the money in after the fact, when we can avoid having those kind of fires, if we can be proactive and put some money into it. But I think he understands that message, and he's going to be working as best he can with the resources he has. So one of the things he encouraged me to kind of encourage everybody else is whatever sort of influences we have, whether it's with congressional people or private industry or whatever, with the various interest groups and stuff that are lobbying, is to get monies targeted for pre-treatment rather than having all the money being sucked up by the post activities, so the fire. So I think that's kind of significant, I thought, for him to share that. So we have to keep that in mind. I told him, don't worry, we'll be happy to go and harass everybody and anybody to try to get him the resources to get the job done before it becomes a rehabilitation of a fire scene like the Moonlight Fire on the other side of the hill.
And that's why I was trying to point out to some of the grant opportunities, because, they really should have someone at that meeting in Reading on the 23rd. And so if they don't have the money, they need to look for other opportunities as well. And I'm going to be trying to do some of that and help with the issue. And Chris O'Brien did say that they had done some other things. They'd have a logging engineer out. They'd had some the crews out. So I felt like they were making some movement.
He did say they have been doing some work there, but not maybe on the scale that we're all envisioning. But I appreciate the fact that they're trying.
Yeah. So do I.
Last night's meeting was coordination council meeting?
Yes, sorry, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And
Thanks for the report.
Oh, I saved you some brown, but anyway.
yeah,
Anyway.
and thank you. This is quite impressive. maybe as a suggestion, we use these, we hand these back in, and we do a letter, a board letter to our representatives in the Senate and, you know, Congress, and we forward, use these that Hannah's already prepared to forward on, just showing the local interest in how, I mean, so that people understand votes, you know, these are a lot of signatures, and probably most of them
I
vote.
would really appreciate that.
So I think it would be really a nice thing. You've done a lot of work, and as if everybody involved here together, all of the.
A
these
lot of
signatures.
people collected signatures and
Yeah.
businesses did, so
And
I
it'd be a
will
pity
take
just to
that
have
for
these
it.
sit around, or, you know.
No, I don't want them to, and
No.
that would be something I would really welcome if you
We
do.
should forward them on, yeah.
I'll draft a letter.
And just to add to it, there's also, in December, I don't think the date's been set, there's gonna be an open house at the Eagle Radio Station for the public to gather information for this Savage Mountain fuel reduction.
Should we give these back to you then, Richard? or-
I'd like to have at least one.
Yeah, that's.
I think I have one more I can bring to your office, I just don't have it with me.
He has one now.
Okay,
Well, actually, that's pretty.
okay. Well, I just,
Yeah, that way we,
I gave.
and if you're not gonna all use them, if you, having extra, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind taking one back, or if you all need one, then I have other ways I could use it, so.
I gave one to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right.
we'll, Hannah, thanks again, and we'll make sure that we get these petitions into the hands of the decision makers, so, good job. Maybe we should send one to the Region 5, maybe more.
I think, you know, communicating with our senators, our congressmen, the regional forester would be good. And I think in the communication, we should focus on the fact that, you know, existing resources are being utilized in a lot of cases to rehabilitate fire damaged areas. And it would be nice to get some resources allocated to prevent those fires.
We sort of have the priorities backwards.
They do, it's crazy.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to go under public comment? Alrighty, let's, we'll take up our unagendized board report. We'll start off with Supervisor Chapman.
I have nothing, Mr.
Supervisor Henning.
I have no.
Aaron?
Yeah, I got a couple things, I wanna bring up for as far as coming up on, for Veterans Day, November the 10th, up there at the school, K through 12, they're gonna have a student color guard, and they have a song dance performance for all the veterans. They've been doing this for several years, and it's a really good deal. They get people from Rainville Fairs come up to attend. And then on the 11th, they're having a free luncheon at 8 and at 1 o'clock. It's sponsored by the cattlemen and cattlewomen. And that's for any veterans and their families, it's all free. And then the Fire Safe Council, they've been doing some work out there in Little Valley. And so anyways, it's almost, project is almost completed out there. It might be completed by now, I don't know, I've talked lately. But anyways, they did a bunch of good work out there after the ball started. They had a lot of good interaction from all the community out there, so they was able to get quite a bit done out there. And then, the last question I have is the BLM, they're putting out applications for members to be members of the RAC. Is anybody on that from this board? RAC or BLM?
Yeah, I've got my application in based on, this is for the Iraq for Northern California.
Yeah, for BLM.
Okay. Putting in an application for it.
Okay.
The board approved that letter, I think, back in February or March.
They said they extended the deadline, looking for people in most different
They
categories.
didn't get enough applications to have a pool for the secretary to, so they basically are re-advertising.
Okay.
And that closes on the 10th or 11th of November.
10th, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I had.
Supervisor Powell?
Okay, Larry and I attended the coordination council meeting last night, and a lot of talk about Diamond Mountain, and Hannah did a terrific job on that, so I won't repeat it. Lucas County has got a meeting where the coordination council will be sending a letter to the Lassen County to, it would be any time there's a fire within your county, the Forest Service do the litigation. there would be any settlement monies from that litigation, 25% would come back to the county. And I give Bob a fact sheet, I guess, from Sherry Mark on that. So we'll be, you should be receiving a letter from the Coordination Council on that, the new feature. Overstow vehicles, OSB vehicles, there will be a public meeting on November 5th. Thank you for the Forest Service Supervisors to collect information on off-road vehicles. Staff, I guess we need to talk a little more, and Larry, you can check who is going to keep it. We had somebody up there last time.
Right, we'd like to address that a little bit. What I have envisioned, the board funded the deputy CEO position, which I've recruited and interviewed in the process of trying to fill that position. But it was my intention to utilize that position to provide staff to the coordination council, because I think it's that high of a level of an issue that it should be someone from the CAO's office.
Are you having any luck in fulfilling that?
I'll know this week.
Okay, that's Molly's word.
Thank you. Alrighty, I'd like to make a donation out of my discretionary fund. Sorry, Susan, I don't have the math. I asked, I haven't heard back yet from the auditor, but basically we'll fill in the numbers next week. But before I forget, as I only have a few more time to run it out. So I want to preserve half of the discretionary fund for whoever takes my seat, so I don't want to spend their money. So I'd like to, but then the other half, I'd like to split equally between the Blue Star Moms, the Janesville Music Program, and the Special Athletes and Activities Club through the Lassen College.
So what's remaining?
Yeah.
The other half?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not sure that I've taken any disbursements out of it.
I don't recall, no. But you get that now, clerk?
We
Excellent.
will.
That's clear enough for you?
Okay, so thank
You sure you don't want to spend just a little bit of your, of the other guy?
I feel good about leaving half for them. That's the right thing to do. Oh, and,
How did you do
yeah,
on your
thank you, yeah. I still have some funds coming in, but I did do a quick addition last night, and it was $909.85 so far, but there is more money coming in. I thank everybody that's participated. Everybody on the board, with the exception of one, has turned in their form. It's in
I have to say, since I wasn't able to be here last week,
I got another one.
Larry's report, when he came through aid station 22, a guy who's usually fairly verbal didn't have 5 words to say, so.
Needed all my oxygen for the last 4 miles. They wouldn't waste any oxygen.
We encouraged him by saying, you got 4 more miles to go.
About $909?
$909.85, and I still have a donation from yesterday.
That's $34 a mile, sir.
So far.
Yes.
Was it worth it?
Oh, yeah, no, it was.
Well, the first 13 miles were less, but the last 15 miles were a lot more.
Anyway, but I'll give another report in a week or so with the totals, and, still making a couple phone calls. Okay, and thanks again for everybody that took part, and also Ruth, thank you very much, and Jason, and Cedarville stuff, Jeremy was great, everybody was great, thank you. So, okay, so enough of that stuff. Alrighty, let's take up our consent calendar. Any, anything cool for?
I'd like to go G3, please.
I have a couple of questions on G4. Okay, anything else for further consideration? If not, looking,
I have a question about G5.
okay, G5. Okay, looking for a motion for the balance.
So moved.
I'll second.
G3 and 5 are off.
3, 4, 5.
3, 4, 5.
Okay, is there any public comment before we take action? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All right. Take these in order here. We'll start off with G3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple of questions I had is, why can't we just store this ourselves, first of all? Why can't we just store the information ourselves? What's the benefit of that?
The web hosting, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
They can bring some somewhere. Is that-
This is for the digital, recorded
BMI.
digital reel system.
BMI.
Right. What I would suggest is that we invite someone from the department over here, and maybe put this off till a little bit later this morning. Yeah.
Okay, and then, okay, we'll just wait then. That's my question, right?
Okay, so we're gonna table this at the time.
Yeah, probably the planning and building services and public works as well, depending on what the questions are.
Very good, Larry.
Jenna's right there.
Oh, everybody's here.
Excellent.